ActionSA has welcomed the Supreme Court of Appeal's rejection of a request by Vantage Goldfields to delay the Lily Mine court hearings to next year. The party says this is a step closer to getting justice for the families of the Lily Mine workers who were swallowed by the earth when a container they were working in fell into the ground 7 years ago now. Let's speak to the ActionSA leader, Herman Mashaba, who's been working with the families of those mine workers. A very good evening to you, sir. Welcome to News at Prime. You say this is a step closer to justice, but how much closer, really?
Well, I wish I could really be a sangoma to predict. If I had my way, I would really expect the results of tomorrow, because you can imagine, Tembekile, the families have been under this trauma for now going for 7 years, with the South African government being in cahoots with Vantage Capital, starting first by lying to South Africans that that container cannot really be retrieved. It took us massive financial, legal intervention to prove that that container can be retrieved. And what is actually quite worrying is that Vantage Capital and the BRP, the business practitioners, business rescue practitioners, have been in cahoots the last few years in contempt of 2 court orders. So we were surprised that now all of a sudden the court is supposed to sit early in November. Now they're asking for further extension, and we really were pleased yesterday when the Supreme Court of Appeal rejected this, and rejected it on the basis of the suffering of the families and the former miners.
And in terms of what you want from these court hearings, which now have to begin, I think, within a matter of weeks, what is the ultimate desire of the families? Is it still to just be able to get the remains of their loved ones?
That's all the families are asking, because we have proven beyond any reasonable doubt that the lie which was told to South Africans that that container cannot be retrieved. Fortunately, the intervention of ActionSA proved this to have been wrong. Now, the families just want to get that container out so that they can have proper burial for their loved ones. That's all they're asking. That's why they were even prepared to actually do everything possible to retrieve that container themselves. But unfortunately, they were prevented. In the meantime, in the very same mine, where now illegal mining is allowed to happen without anyone querying about it, including DMRE. So we feel as ActionSA that our current government has got a lot to answer to the families the day when that container is retrieved.
Are you saying there's illegal mining going around the Lily Mine site?
Literally, from the time the container went out, few months later, illegal mining has been really happening there, threatening the family. You remember the family have been camping there now for over 3 years, until obviously we intervened. They are still camping there. You look at their living conditions, and they are not prepared to move away from that site until such time that the container is retrieved. But what is strange is that DMRE and Vantage Capital in particular prevented the families from retrieving that container themselves, but at the same time ignoring the illegal mining that's happening out there. The police were unleashed against the families and the former miners. They have been restricted from being anywhere close to the mine. But in the meantime, there's illegal mining happening there, and there's no way I challenge anyone in the South African government who can obviously deny the existence of illegal mining in that mine for the last over 5 years.
Two things then, Mr. Mashaba. I'm curious about how these families, if you say they've already been threatened by illegal miners, are being kept safe as they continue to camp out there. And I'm wondering if the illegal mining operations are not themselves going to compromise the integrity of the site and perhaps reduce the chances of a successful excavation of that container where we're told the miners were when it crashed 7 years ago.
Tembekile, in a country where you have a government that respects the rule of law, I cannot really imagine in my life as a South African that we can be held ransom by illegal activity. So the South African government, if they're serious about the retrieval of that container, illegal mining or not, I think we have special forces, we have the necessary instruments, including the private sector, where we can deal with the question of illegal mining. But I think why it is happening under their watch, just really turning their heads, putting their heads in the sand, it's only the South African government, the ANC government in particular, will one day answer to this. Because one thing for sure, they must understand, one day they're going to really answer to those families as to why their loved ones were kept underground 70 meters down for over 7 years, using every trick in the book, including, for me, what is of particular concern. It's why, in the first instance, they said that container cannot be retrieved. Because when I was approached in the beginning of 2020 by the family for intervention, I can tell you when they related this to me on the phone, and I decided immediately, a few days later, went on site. I can tell you, within 1 hour of them explaining to me what happened, I told them they smell a rat. There is no way that container cannot be retrieved. I said, what I will do, I'll get you the best lawyers in the country. And the first thing that we want from the South African government, it is to give us proof and evidence what informed their decision to say that that container cannot be retrieved. And I'm glad today that we've managed to prove them that they actually lied to the families and lied to the people of South Africa.
So you've spoken at length about how you believe government has been complicit in this, allegedly, in the delay, firstly, in retrieving the bodies, and the reluctance altogether, as has been said, around going ahead with that, right? You marched, I think it was 3 months ago, in fact, to the offices of the Mineral Resources Minister, Gwede Mandashe, with a memorandum. Did anything ever come of that?
Unfortunately, at one stage, sometime last year, I even actually got the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Minerals and Energy, comprising of all political parties. All political parties in the current government, this matter of the Lily mine, I really find it really very difficult why there's no interest. They came there, they promised to hold the executive accountable. I went personally with the families to go and give memorandum. Unfortunately, it does not really work. As you can imagine, our legal cost today runs into several millions. But one thing for sure, I believe we are now getting closer because the courts have realized that this matter cannot be delayed any longer because Vantage Capital and the PRP, they've been in contempt of 2 court orders. So let's see what happens, I think, on the 4th of November. At least we are relieved that the proceedings of the court will go ahead as planned.
Herman Mashaba, leader of ActionSA, thank you for your time tonight, sir.